Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for tuning into the RW. I'm your host, Brandon Macy, and I'm very excited to have one of my good, longtime friends with us here on the podcast today. And Bryant, you and I have known each other for a long time. We've worked together. We've toiled together. We've done a lot of things together. And I'm just excited to have you on. Bryant Clark is the founder of EZagent Ads. And you've been doing a lot of stuff for brokers, agents at one time, helping them get leads and all kinds of stuff. Just a lot of cool things. And one of the things we were talking about is how now you're so thankful that you have created a business that's online because everything's online now.
Exactly. Yeah, the world's changed, man. I mean, you've got so many people now that are trying to figure out what to do, especially real estate agents right now, trying to figure out what to do when it comes to showings. People are not showing up at showings. People are trying to figure out how to do virtual tours and things like that. So it's a completely different world.
Well, the crazy thing to me is, and again, you and I both worked in real estate. We were in title together. We worked in the mortgage industry together, and we were meeting with agents constantly. And one of the things that we learned is a lot of agents were not present online at all. When it came to, I'm talking about not only themselves, but knowing how to show a house or something like that by using social media online. It's just amazing.
Yeah. I think, you know, there's a lot of things that come into play when it comes to real estate. I think it's just realizing that if you don't do something with branding, with marketing online right now, you're dead in the water. So yeah. Everything has changed. The game has changed. And we don't know what's going to happen in the future. We have no clue, but we do know that people right now are actively on social media. They're very active on Facebook right now. So there's a lot of agendas, a lot of things that go on social media. My recommendation to anybody, any business right now, is to just stay neutral, to put out lighthearted things and brand your post and make sure that people understand that you are a person that is an equal opportunity employer,
right?
A person that just enjoys being around people, and just a normal business, a small business or a large business. You know, your branding is everything right now. So well,
and you know, going back to, I mean, we're not going to go into how old we are on this podcast,
yeah,
but
see it.
You know, in the days that we were growing up, it's like you would see somebody's business on a billboard, or right. You would have some sign in someone's yard that you would see so-and-so did this, or this roofing company did this. And you still see some of that, and I think it has its place, but you have a kind of a living, breathing thing with social media where people can get to know you from across the globe just by things that you're posting, just by this podcast, for instance. Right. I mean, you can listen to this from anywhere. Exactly. It's on all platforms. I mean, there's so many ways that we can be reaching out to people, connecting with people, when there was huge limitations on that in the past.
Right. And I think that's a great point. You know, as far as churches go, I think a lot of churches don't realize the importance of, you know, your website's really important, but it's just a platform. Having your Google My Business and using citations and backlinks and putting all that together so that someone in a 2-mile radius or a 10-mile radius, when they type in church and they go into your area, your church is going to be the first one that pops up.
Yeah.
And your reviews are extremely important nowadays. And I think a lot of people discount that because they don't see those, or they forgot their Gmail account and they're not active on their Gmail account. And that's one of the things we do now is reputation management. Is, you know, somebody can just walk in and see your business and they can write something down, a little card, but online, anybody can go to your Google My Business account and leave a review, a negative review or a positive review. And they may have never visited your church, they may have never visited your business, but they can leave that review. If you have somebody managing that and that can get back in touch with those customers or at least leave a comment, that's going to be a good thing for you. If you don't, it looks like, well, that happened.
Right. Well, and we've seen that many times. I mean, we sat down with companies at one time and talked to them about that, with brokerages, with brokers. And it's like, hey, did you know that on Glassdoor it's saying this about your brokerage? And they didn't even know that was out there. The fact of the matter is, when people go to a restaurant, they're going to look at the reviews. They're going to look at what people said about it. When they go to a hotel, wherever they go, if you're using Verbo, or you're using, what's the other one? Just slipped my mind. Airbnb, anything like that. Everything is review driven and based these days. And so if you have negative things out there about your business or about you as a person or whatever, I worked for a bank at one time, and somebody had sent me some things that were written about one of the higher ups at that time, and it was on Glassdoor. And I mean, they were blasting them on there, because you can say anything you want on those, pages. And it was like, man, this doesn't look good for this person. And so if you have somebody that can come in and do that and watch over those things and get them removed, or come in and post positive things, in order to counteract that, it definitely helps.
Absolutely. And I think, if you're selling anything online, that is extremely important, because people, like you said, restaurants, people are going to, the first thing that they're going to do is see, like if you go to Amazon right now and you buy something, the first thing you're going to do is get the reviews on it. You're going to see, is this a legit product?
I do it all the time.
Am I ordering a drone, or am I ordering a toy? You know? So those things are really important, and the same is true with any business out there, especially in real estate, because you have some transactions that go really good and some transactions that go really bad. And those people, according to how they feel after the transaction, can go in and leave those reviews on your site, and that affects your entire business.
Well, perception's reality, right? So it doesn't matter if you fell all over yourself doing a good job. If the people felt like they were slighted in some way, which happens all the time, the customer's always right is a thing of the past when you have social media and avenues like that where people can post their grievances and that sort of thing. So you definitely have to keep an eye on that. I would say, you and I have sat down many times with real estate agents, talk to them about their presence online, talk to them about how they look online. Like, what are you presenting to everybody? Are you presenting to people that, you're hoity-toity? Are you representing to people, hey, I'll help anybody, I'll go above and beyond, I'll answer my phone anytime? All these things, the perception of people is no longer, I sit across the table from you and shake your hand. It's, what do I look like on social media? Whether it's right or wrong, that's where we are.
It is exactly where we're at.
Right? Exactly. So what kind of things are you seeing right now with businesses? I mean, like you said, things are changing. I mean, it was like 0 to 60 like that as far as things changing. And I know, you're kind of somebody that I always talk to and have always talked to about, like, what's coming. I mean, you were talking to me about virtual reality, VR, before it was really even a thing. And you're like, trust me, this is how people are going to go watch basketball games and do all these things, which was pretty cool. But at that point, it was like, no, that's not going to be a thing. Who's going to walk around with a big, helmet on their head? And people are doing it like crazy now. And I think that's only going to continue to take off as more and more people are in their homes and stuff like that.
Absolutely. I think having a platform where people can go in and do things like that in a church setting would be tremendous. Obviously, VR, for instance, hasn't progressed to that place yet. It hadn't got to the place where they can just watch it. You have to have the VR goggles, and I don't think there's that many people that are going to put a set of goggles on and watch something, but it is an audience. So I think there could come a time where people in lifechurch.tv, they came out with this years ago, and that was avatars, where you go in, you have your little avatar. EXP has that same setup as a brokerage, where you go in, select your avatar, and you can go in and visit with people and interact with people without having to worry about, COVID or anything like that that's going on right now. So I think those things are going to be something that's going to be very popular in the future. Sure.
Well, and you're talking about, you mentioned the church setting, and I mean, the majority of, I know what you've been doing is in the workplace, but I think there are a lot of things on the church side, which is, now that's kind of my focus, I'm thinking what things can we bring from the business aspect and bring those into the church and make it a more friendly area, a more interactive place. Because first of all, I think when all this happened, I saw a lot of churches that honestly weren't ready to have to broadcast.
Right.
They're like, they felt like they were forced to have church because that's the only way they could have church. Thankfully, we've got a great team here that works on all that. We were set up for it. And so for us, it was just like, okay, well, how do we improve? So we already had it going. We were just like, let's improve on what we've already got. And one of the first things that we started talking about is, okay, then how do we interact back with these people? Because, we want them to be able to watch the service. Hey, that's great. But where's the connection there other than them sitting and watching a screen or watching something on their cell phone that fits in their hand? Like, how do we get back to them? And so one of the things that we immediately started working on is what we call RW Online, which is, Royalwood Online, but where people can actually become members online, where they can interact online, where they can become volunteers online, where they can literally become a part of the church, even though they may live in Nebraska, or maybe they're in another country. I mean, we have people from other countries watching on a weekly basis. And so I think the struggle is, hey, this is how, and it's the same thing with business. People get stuck with, this is the way I've done business forever. I did door hangers, okay? What we know is, if I get a door hanger, I haven't read a door hanger in 20 years. And I've gotten them in that time, but I've never read them because as soon as I get that, it's going straight in the trash. I'm not reading it. I'm not looking at it. It's just me. Same thing with junk mail. So mailers, door hangers, all this kind of stuff is business of the past as well as church of the past. People want to see something that they can interact with. They want to be welcomed by something. Again, whether it be business, whether it be a broker trying to say, hey, this is why you need to use us. To me, churches should be looking at that same thing going, why are they going to come there instead of the guy that's 2 blocks away?
Absolutely. I think, you guys have done a fantastic job. I'm a big fan. So I think there's Royalwood, just the name itself. Obviously, you guys already know this. When you type in Royalwood, that is your name. You have branded that name very well, and it's going to populate when somebody types that in. So having a church, the first step, since we're talking about this, the first step that I would do if you don't have a presence online is have a name that sets you apart from everyone else.
Yes, I agree.
Because there's so many different denominational churches that just say this is what we are or this is who we're a part of. But that's great and good, but people nowadays that are looking for a church are not so much interested in a denomination, so to speak. They're interested in the worship experience. They're interested in what does it look like behind the scenes. And showing a behind the scenes of your church is a great way to interact with people. Laugh, have fun, show that you are more than just a professional church that's professionally taped and audio and all of that great stuff. Instead of showing all of that, show the fun side of the church behind the scenes. Take a camera, go and do some visitation with a camera. Put the camera on your shoulder and have somebody follow you into a hospital room while you're praying for somebody. Show them that you're legit and that you really do care, because people don't know how much you care, until you get out there and then they see what you're doing. Right.
Well, and again, I think that's very important. What we used to do is you'd have on your website, and you'd have these dry bios, right?
Right.
You'd have senior pastor, this of this many years, and wrote 2 books and all that kind of stuff. When now at our fingertips we have, I mean, I can hold up my phone and video myself talking, and it be higher quality than we had 5 years ago from a $1,000 camera.
Yeah.
You know, so there's so many things at our fingertips that I think we could be taking advantage of when it comes to, since we're on the church thing, reaching out to people in that aspect and going, look, this is what we're about. You know, yes, I believe there's a spiritual aspect to the church, but there's also a community aspect of the church. What are you doing in your community? I mean, if you want to reach people, that's what people are interested in.
Right.
The reason that people are protesting and social justice warriors and all these kind of things is because they're interested in what's happening in their communities. So my question would be, when is the last time you have been interested in the community? Not interested in, and this may sting a little bit, not interested in how many times are they going to come and start paying tithe,
Right.
okay? But interested in, what can I do to help this family? Where are their needs? Is it education? Is it, you know, I mean, we're thankfully kind of on the tail end of probably the greatest race uprising, I guess if you want to call it that I've seen in my lifetime, of just, you know, people are interested in these things. They're going, where are the deficits?
Right.
Okay, and what can we do to bridge those gaps? So to me as a church, you should be looking, and I'm not saying, and if you want to do this, fine, but I'm not saying you got to go march or whatever you got to do, but you do have to say, let's sit down and talk and figure out what's happening in your community.
I agree with you. Speaking of all of that, I think we're at a place where the church, again, just like a business, needs to stay neutral.
Right.
Because you have so many opinions and so many people that are talking, and so many voices out there right now, and so much fake media and so much fake news that you don't really know what's true and what's not true, which is a great time for a church to step into that leadership role. Because people are looking for the truth, then you should present them with the truth.
Well, and the thing, COVID's a prime example, right?
Right.
One day we hear you wear a mask. One day we hear it's bad to wear a mask. One day we hear we should all be locked in our houses. The next day it's like, no, let's not. Let's everybody go to the beach. You cannot, you know, this medicine works, this one doesn't. It's the most confusing time that I've ever faced. And here's what we do know, because both of us have dug in on the internet when it comes to, again, businesses we're trying to help and that sort of thing. But you can find information to back up whatever side you want to be on and wherever you want to stand.
Right.
I don't care how off the wall it is. You can find something that supports your ideal.
Absolutely.
And so, and I think the challenge for us is, and this is in a broader scale, but trying to weed through all the junk to get to one little tiny fragment of truth. And it's difficult. I mean, I try to find just statistics to figure out if COVID is planing off or if we're still climbing. It's almost impossible because everything I read is conflicting.
Well, I mean, even the Bible scholars came out and said, what is truth? You know, they got to that place in their own lives where they were like, we don't know what the truth is anymore. And so I think that is exactly why a church, we're still on that subject, right?
Yeah.
So a church should present their truth.
Yeah.
You know, they should present what it is that makes them different, and why you should visit us and view us online. And I think that's really important when it comes to caring, because so many people, you said it earlier, so many people right now are hurting.
Yeah.
I mean, so many races, so many different opinions, and nobody really knows what's going on. And that is a perfect time for a spiritual leader to stand up and be a leader and be up front. And there are a lot of churches that are not online and they're not broadcasting. You could start right now, and I'll just give this little tip for the smaller churches, because that makes up the larger population of churches. A smaller church can have a Friends Day. And I'm not talking about a Friends Day where everybody comes together in one auditorium. I'm talking about an online Friends Day.
Yeah.
Where everyone in the church goes in and invites their friends to like their church page.
Yeah.
And you can grow your church audience as a smaller church. You can grow your church audience in just a matter of minutes to several thousand followers by simply having a Friends Day online, and have everyone invite their friends. And then you go from an audience of maybe 800 or 1,500 to 16,000.
Yeah.
And now you've got a broader audience that you're reaching, and your message is getting out there.
Well, I mean, and again, I don't know 10 years from now what church looks like, to be honest. You know, for the first time, I had to honestly look at things and question and go, man, where's this going? You know, I mean, for the longest time, you know, we're so programmed together in a building, right, that you're used to going to every week. You know the people that are there pretty much. You've got some program that's going on that's basically the same. So you've got kind of this rhythm that you're in, you know, constantly. All of that gets blown out of the water, and you go, I mean, some people are literally freaking out going, you mean we can't go to church? Like, we can't go to this building?
Yeah.
When, and me and you both know this, that's never what God intended the church to be. God intended the church to be highways, byways, you know, going out to people's homes. I'm just thinking of the scripture that said he went, how does it say? He went from house to house. All of these things, when we're going, well, no, we can only have it in this one building, and it's got to be at this certain time. And God forbid you change that time, because, you know, 6 o'clock on a Sunday evening is the dedicated time to have church. Yeah. If you change that, you're in a mess. And I mean, we saw that when we went to 2 services on Sunday mornings. It was like people were like, wait, what about Sunday? Like, you have to have church Sunday evening. And it's like, guys, that's just a time.
Yeah.
You know, that's not, there's nothing in the Bible that says thou shalt have service at 6 p.m. You know, you can change that. But I think as we're seeing society change, there's some things that we've got to change if we're going to want to continue to be relevant, if we're going to want to continue to grow. You know, you're talking about having Friend Day online. One of the greatest things and tools that people have been utilizing more than ever, which I wish I would have bought stock in Zoom, is Zoom, right?
Right.
I mean, everybody's doing these big Zoom meetings where you got 50 people on there and 150 people, and you're interacting with each other, and it's completely changed our perspective of we have to be sitting across from someone to, oh, this is what FaceTime is really for, that we could be connecting with people outside of ourselves. I saw a guy just the other day taught a Bible study over FaceTime, and because it was a family that was in another state, and I mean, completely turned their lives around. It was an amazing thing, but he did that over FaceTime. We're not used to that. We're like, but wait, this is different. And the same thing, again, applies to business. I think there's a lot of ways to grow your business. There's a lot of ways to grow your congregation, but you got to think outside of the box in these times. You can't go, oh, well, we're going to do we're going to drive around and carol to the people in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to get shot doing that.
I think you got to get rid of the box, personally. There should be no box.
Yeah.
Testing.
We're going to pass the offering plate around.
I'll pass the offering plate. I really think there should be no box. Jesus was never in a box. So I think, like you said, you should go out into your community. You should touch the people that are out there, even those that disagree with you. You should be seasoned enough to understand what's going on in our society.
Yeah.
And if you look at what's really going on, since we're on this subject, if you look at what's really going on, the majority of the riders, the majority of the people that are out there are your college kids, and they're totally confused about what it is they understand and conceive in their minds. They're totally confused about how our government operates. And I think this.
Well, I got to be honest. I'm confused.
Yeah, I am too. I am too. But I think that this is the time, though, where a church could really show that they understand things in the spirit more than a politician would, and what's really going on. And I think this is a perfect time for leaders to stand up, spiritual leaders to stand up and to pronounce what's really going on in the spirit realm. I mean, it's really important to do. I think there's a lot of things that are going on online that you need to become an advocate of. There's so many children right now that are, and this is my pet peeve right now. I think there's so many children that right now that are being taken from their homes and kidnapped and sold into slavery online in different places. That there needs to be somebody speaking out, especially a church, speaking out against these things and forming a movement to combat this. Yeah. Because if you don't have a cause, people won't rally behind you. If you're just saying I'm a church, that's great, but you should have a cause. Yeah. Well, and I'll just say this, that even a business should have a cause.
I agree.
So if you're a business, that's great and good, but if you have a cause, people will rally behind you because you have a cause. Yeah. You can say I'm a great realtor. That's wonderful. You can say I'm a great business, but that's great. But if people see that you have a 501c nonprofit and this is your cause, then they're going to jump in and join you in that.
Yeah, who are you? Like, what are you really standing for? Exactly. And again, that doesn't just apply on the church side. That applies to you as an individual. Like, what are you doing in this world? Just coming in and clocking in the morning and clocking in at the end of the day. There's a lot more to life than that. Right. And I think the problem is we get distracted. We get distracted by all the things that are going on in the media because they're the ones telling us what we should be concerned about, right? Instead of us going, no, what we really should be concerned about is the fact that Houston is the worst city in the world for human trafficking. Right. Literally, in the world. Exactly. Which is crazy to me. We've got, on the podcast here just a few weeks ago, I had Samuel Mendozábal, and they work with those kids. And that's one of the things that they do, is they go and mentor these kids and counsel these kids that have been kidnapped and sold and all that. It's just awful. Yeah. But there's a whole world out there that we don't see on a daily basis that's happening right under us. And we're so concerned with what Hollywood movie star is marrying another one, or what some basketball star's opinion is on something they know nothing about, instead of us really getting interested in the things that really matter and the things that are really going on. Right. And, we did this when we worked in title business development and marketing and stuff. We always had an elevator speech, right? Which was that 30-second thing that you could basically tell somebody about yourself and why you're different in that 30 seconds. And they would, whatever you said in that 30 seconds, it would make the difference, right? So we all had those things that we would say. We would introduce ourselves. Hey, this is who I am. This is what I do. But I think that we need to have that too as a church, because we're inundated with churches. Okay, there's no shortage of churches in this city, in small towns. You go to Louisiana, there's a city every block. I mean, there's a church every block. Right. So that's not the issue. The issue is people want to know what makes you different. Are you different because you accept people from all walks of life as they are, and then you try to invest into their lives? What makes you different? in business. What makes you different as a manufacturer of plastic versus the other guy that's manufacturing plastic? What, you can do it faster? You can do it cheaper? What is it? And so I feel like a lot of times people shortchange their story. They don't really tell their story and come out and say, this is who I am, this is what we stand for, and this is where we're going.
Right.
You know? And I think if people would do that more, especially churches, why are you different than Second Baptist over here? You know, what, you're Second Baptist in the next neighborhood? I mean, people are coming because...
Who's first?
Yeah, who's first? Yeah, who's first? But I'm just, and I'm using that very generically, but I'm saying, what makes you different? You're just closer to them in the neighborhood, so they're coming to you out of convenience, or are they coming to you because they're getting something more? They're experiencing something. Their lives are made better by being a part of your family. What is it? You know?
Yeah, I agree. The days of telling a Bible story are almost over, and I know there's people that'll probably disagree with me on your podcast, but people want real content. They want real life stuff.
Well, look what Jesus did.
Yeah,
he told parables that were down to earth, that meant something to them. It was things that, you know, the workers in the field. All the other parables that Jesus told were stories that people could relate to, so they could go, oh, you know what, that makes sense.
Yeah. How are you going to help my marriage?
Yeah.
How's this going to benefit me from getting up and coming to your church? And I think that's the question that needs to be asked. You know,
you mean I shouldn't try to wow people by Greek and Hebrew and all that kind of stuff? Yeah. And again, let me say this: there is a place for that, okay?
Sure.
But I agree with you. People want things that they can apply to their lives, show them a spiritual application for it, show them something that they can take home and is going to help them with their kids, or going to help them with their family, or going to help them reach their family, or whatever the case may be. But, you know, I think they need those kind of applicable things that are relatable to where they are.
I agree. And people definitely want to feel the Spirit of God. I still agree with that. I just don't think that is the thing that's going to fix a broken system right now. I think there needs to be instructors. There needs to be teachers. There needs to be somebody in the forefront, you know, a Billy Graham, somebody that's out there that's saying this is what you need to do and this is how we're going to fix this. And I still think that you know, social media is a good platform for that.
Yeah.
Getting back to social media, I still think social media is a good platform for that. And one of the things we do, I'm going to pitch my business.
Yeah, please.
Right? So one of the things we do is we go in and we help businesses grow. So one of the things that people struggle with online is getting somebody that is legitimately concerned about their growth.
Yeah.
For instance, we've gone into plastic surgery. We're in real estate. We're helping small businesses, plumbers, electricians. All of these guys build and grow their businesses, and there is a way that you can do that to where you can have 50 to 60 people calling your business and contacting your business every month.
Yeah.
And if you do it right, then it can make a difference and help you grow. And I think the same thing applies to a church.
So that you're talking about basically lead generation, right?
Lead generation. Some people call them leads. Some people call them contacts. Some people call them clients. You know, so it depends on what business you're in. But yeah, they're all customers.
Yeah.
So getting that customer growth going in the door is really important, especially for a business that's small right now. For instance, if you're a restaurant and you're doing takeout, no one knows you're doing takeout unless you've got an advertising system set up. And so I think a lot of that has come into play now, where people need somebody. And you said it earlier, thank God we got into this business when we did, because it's exploded in growth now. But we had no clue when we got in that this is the direction everything was going to go. And you need to plan for that as a business. You know, you don't just need to say my business is done because people can't walk through the door. You know, build a drive-through window, and serve people through the drive-through window. Set up something that you're able to keep your business afloat. And I think that's really important. And I think that's important in a church. Like you said earlier, it's not all about tithe. It's about getting the client or the customers or the people on the pew to get interacted in the business and bring people to that social media platform where you can get the message out. So.
Yeah, well, and where can people go if they're interested in you guys? EZagentads.com?
EZagentads.com.
And what about an email address just for people that would be interested?
Support@EZagentads.com.
Okay, support@EZagentads.com. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Those are kind of things that are very, very important, especially during this time, and people are seeing it more than ever. First of all, they're seeing that they have to diversify their business. I mean, if you're a restaurant, you can't survive at 25% capacity.
Right.
I think we're past that now, but at one time it was 25% capacity, mm-hmm. and I know restaurants, I know for a fact, work on such a tight margin that they can't afford to lose any customers, much less 75% of their customers.
Yeah.
And so, and I mean, church is the same way. Look, let's be honest. A church is only going to grow if there's people there paying back into the church.
Right.
I mean, the way that the church runs is off of people that are involved in the church that support the church through tithe offerings, whatever. So it's people. It's people at the restaurant. It's people at the church. It's people wherever. So you better be ready to diversify yourself,
right,
and hit all of these avenues if you're going to continue to see growth. If you're going to see growth in your business, if you're going to see growth in your church, all of those things apply, that you better make sure that you have a presence on social media and all that. Nobody's going in the yellow pages and looking to see where they want to go to church.
Is there a yellow pages?
I don't even think there's a yellow pages
I don't even
anymore.
know if there's a yellow pages
no.
anymore. I think it's online.
We get people all the time. We had someone recently reach out to us and said, we Googled a church in the Houston area, and you guys were the first church to pull up. And so we'd love to come visit you guys. I talked to him myself, said, hey, we'd love for you to come. Please let me know when you're going to come, and that way we can be looking out for you and all that. But that would have never happened if we hadn't had Google My Business, like you talked about, and we didn't have some kind of presence on social media where people could Google us and find us and have an updated address.
Exactly.
This is one thing that drives me nuts, and we know that this happens because it just happened to me recently, and I called you and told you about it. I had somebody call me and say, I looked up your company online, and this is the phone number that was there, and I was like, I haven't been at that company in 2 years. And it was like they still have my phone number listed as the contact number under a business that's been established in the Houston area for 3 or 4 years. And they got me as the contact person who hasn't been an employee for 2 years.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to make sure that you're keeping up with that.
Right.
You got to make sure that your reputation looks good online. And you got to come in and just freshen stuff up a little bit. We came in and just completely redid our website recently. Not that the one we had was bad, but it just needed to be fresh. It needed a fresh look. And, people, if you ever go and you look at how many people are visiting your page and are looking at your stuff on social media, we've got thousands of people every week that are looking on Facebook, that are looking on Instagram, that are watching stories, that are looking to see what we're doing next. We try to drop music, every week. We do all these different things because people are watching that kind of stuff. And really, that's where your following is created nowadays. It's not created by people walking in the door.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point because a lot of church online folks have gone into, okay, we're just going to put the message online, which is great, don't get me wrong, but people want the experience.
They want the experience.
If they don't hear the music that you have, if they don't see the atmosphere, what's going on, you should stream your services live from start to finish.
Yeah.
If something happens between there, you can always edit it, but I agree that you have to have that inside look of that church. That should just be something that's constant. And speaking of constant, the reason that your church has gotten the brand it's gotten and the social media presence that it has is because somebody consistently stays on it.
Yes.
You can't just start a business, a church, or anything else and just say, okay, we're going to do this and we're going to hire somebody and pay them $6 an hour to stay on this because they're not going to be consistent, chances are.
Yeah.
If they are consistent, they may not be with your business or your church for a length of time. Hire somebody that knows what they're doing that's going to be consistent on that day in and day out.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's, for instance, like this podcast. We drop it every Tuesday at 10 o'clock.
right.
We do that on purpose because we want people to be looking for it at 10 o'clock every Tuesday and go, we know there's a new episode and it's going to be super interesting and we want to share it and we want to like
Brandon
it.
has a new hairdo.
It will, or see if my hair's gotten bigger from the last time, which is usually the case. I look like Lyle Lovett right now.
Yeah.
But
Can you sing a song for us?
but I agree, man. Consistency is the key. And when it comes to churches, you know, you can't stream for a month and to decide, oh, we're not going to do that. Right. Or, you know, this is one thing that makes me shudder is I've heard literally preachers say, well, we just turned off the broadcast that night because I had some things I needed to say to the church. If you had things that you needed to say to the church, it ought to be where everybody can hear it. If you're saying things that everybody can't hear, chances are you maybe shouldn't say them. Yeah. I'm just saying, in the day and age that we live in, you know, don't listen to what I'm saying and say that I'm talking about watering things down. It's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you feel like you got to be offensive enough that you got to turn off your broadcast so no one could hear it. Again, so somebody's going to go, a guest, and this is, you know, we're getting on a whole nother thing here that could be a podcast in itself, but it's the mentality of us four and no more, and we're opening up to the community and to guests, and we want to get everybody in here that we can, and we want to try to help as many people as we can. If you just want to talk to your small group from now on, more power to you. But if you want a Book of Acts church where you're adding to the church daily and you're reaching out to people daily and you're allowing guests to come in and people to come in and you're opening that up, then you've got to have a completely different mentality.
Absolutely.
It's not the same of, hey, we're going to talk about these 4 little things and we're going to get our choir robes on and do this one music number. It's totally different than saying, what is appealing to guests? What am I going to talk about that maybe somebody doesn't understand the church vernacular, okay? And again, I'm getting way in the weeds here. But what am I going to say here that people are going to understand, not just people that have been churched people for 30 years? I mean, we know the phrases and the hot buttons that you can push to get amens and to get all that kind of stuff and get people all riled up. But is it something that is really helping people? And is it something that somebody that has never gone to church before is going to be able to listen to and go, that strikes a chord with me?
Right. And I think we both grew up in a church atmosphere, and you know, my dad's a pastor and your dad's a pastor. So
yeah,
I think we're at a place spiritually where the church people are going to have to realize that there's a whole different audience now than they grew up with.
Right.
You know, there's going to have to be open dialogue. There's
Yes.
going to have to be openness, and there's going to have to be people that come to your church that go, I know nothing about your religion. I know nothing about what it is you believe, but I do know that my kids like it. They went to Sunday school and they love the children's church.
Right.
My family is involved because of the experience, and I think that has to happen, man. In any business, not just the church, but any business out there, there should be a welcoming presence.
Yes. Yeah.
And you should not be worried about what. Getting back to what you were saying about turning the camera off, you should not be worried about whether or not your pastor is that kind of pastor.
Yeah.
You know, because personally, I would have a problem bringing a friend to that church because I don't know what that pastor is going to say to offend my friend.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm being honest because, and in reality, they may not say it, but the majority of the people in your church feel that way.
Yeah.
They may not come out and say, well, that's the way I feel, because they don't want to offend you. But in reality, people are going to be careful about bringing somebody to your church if they're going to be offended.
Well, I think the question that we should be asking ourselves is, would a stranger, would a guest, and I'm using stranger, I'm saying a person that this is not familiar to.
Right.
I'm using it in that context.
Right.
Would this be welcoming to them?
Absolutely.
And that's the question that we got to ask ourselves, because if people don't feel welcome, there's no steps following that. There's nothing else that's going to take place after that.
Very fast.
If they don't feel welcome, I have people tell me, yeah, I went to the church and visited 5 times and no one ever said hi to me.
Yeah.
That blows my mind. I'm like, how do you expect? I mean, look at what happens when you walk into Chick-fil-A. I don't care if you're the 50,000th customer. When you walk in the door, somebody's going to go, hey, welcome to Chick-fil-A. They're going to yell at you across the thing. Now, most of the time, I'm like, hey, I'm just here to, eat as many nuggets as possible. But I'm trying to sneak in. But I'm saying it's a welcoming atmosphere. Have a blessed day when you leave.
Right.
My pleasure. All these things that they're doing from a business standpoint, they're killing it. I mean, go to any Chick-fil-A around lunchtime, and the line's wrapped around the building.
Right.
I don't care what location you go to. They're killing it on the business side. Why, from a church standpoint, can we not take those same principles and go, this is the way we want people to feel, and this is the way we want their experience to be when they come to church, when they come and visit, when they become guests.
You should model Chick-fil-A. Have chicken fingers out. No. So
I would never get out of the foyer if we did that.
I would go to that church. But no, I think you should model Chick-fil-A. I mean, they're a great model because, again, they have a cause. You know when you go there, these are Christian people.
Right.
How many people go to Chick-fil-A instead of Kentucky Fried Chicken? Not saying Kentucky Fried Chicken's bad, but they go there because of the cause. They know that this is the principles that this company is founded on, and the ideas that they live by. That's why I show up at Chick-fil-A.
Well, and they're doing more business than most of these companies, and they're only open 6 days a week.
Exactly. Exactly.
So there's so much more that we could talk about, and I'll have to have you come back on, and we'll dive more into some church stuff.
Now you're scaring me.
But I do appreciate your insight because, you had mentioned this, but you pastored a great church at one time. You've got great insight to when it comes to that, and then you've worked with a lot of businesses also that you've been able to help. You've built your own business that's a great success. So I appreciate, your input in that. I want to thank you for taking time to come out for me and you to get to catch up a little bit. It's always good to see you.
Yeah.
And I want to thank all of you guys for watching. Make sure, like I mentioned earlier, every Tuesday at 10 o'clock, we drop a new episode. You can see us on the Roku TV app. You can see us on iTunes TV app. You can see us, obviously, through Instagram, through the RW app. You can check us out there. We're everywhere, guys. So make sure that you're checking us out. Like, share, leave a comment. Make sure that you subscribe. And we want to thank you for watching us every week, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to another episode of The RW. We appreciate you guys tuning in every week, every Tuesday at 10 a.m. If you want to see video content for this podcast, make sure that you go to Royalwood Church on YouTube. That's right below. Make sure that you click on the bell so you can be notified for new content. Also, you want to follow us on Instagram at TheRW_Podcast, Facebook at TheRW Podcast, and then brand new, we've got the our Roku channel where you can check out the podcast, and also Apple TV. Make sure that you tune in every week, like and share this with someone that you think it would be a blessing to, and we'll see you soon.